Alright guys, welcome back for another review. I am with one of the most special cars we've ever had in the garage. This was our first hypercar. It's a very special car to us. This kind of changed the game moving forward with cars that we obtained in the garage that you see today. Once you start with a Chiron as your first hypercar, it's kind of hard to go backwards from there. Nobody really does it like Bugatti. It's the total package all wrapped up into one car. It just so happens to be 1,500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-foot of torque. So I'll kind of take you back from the beginning. January 8th, I believe, of 2018, we met with a Bugatti spokesperson and went through our entire spec. It was a very cold, snowy, central Ohio day. I'll never forget it. It was the first time that Jordan, myself, BDD, Jason have ever really experienced anything like it at the time. It was kind of we kept looking at each other like, I can't believe we're doing this right now, but this was the outcome 8 months later. So 8 months later, on September 8th, I think it was, exactly 8 months later, we took delivery of this beautiful car. It was pouring down rain. I'll never forget it. We're out there with the family, and this is our spec. This was basically the marketing scheme colors, the French racing blue with the Atlantic blue rear. This is what really drew BDD's attention to the Bugatti Chiron. Started doing some research, doing some reviewing, kind of like what you guys are doing now, and reading up on the car, and it almost sounded too good of a car to pass up. Fast forward to September, and that's when we took delivery. So up front, you have the classic horseshoe grille. The Bugatti emblem is the only piece on the entire car that Bugatti did not want to save any weight on. The front lip is in Atlantic blue. I'm special mentioning this front lip because I believe this is our third one. We also have at least one more in the garage in the event that these do get scraped up again, which will happen. Take a look at the key. If you lock it, it's going to be hard to see, but it's basically a welcoming mode. When you walk up to the car with the key in the pocket, the lights will light up. Very hard to see when the sun's out. Just kind of let you know, hey, I'm here, hop in, let's go for a drive. It's pretty cool. So as we walk around the side of the car, I'll point out there's air ducts on the driver's side and passenger side headlights. Those actually draw air into the brakes to cool these massive 16-inch brakes. One thing that Bugatti did really, really special on the Chiron, we should never have to replace the discs, which is a very nice touch. Thank you for saving us a lot of money. So as you make your way to the back, we have the French racing blue, the aluminum C. So the whole C represents a gentleman named, I'm gonna butcher this, so if there's any French people watching, I apologize, Louis Chiron. He was a famous racer for Bugatti back in the 30s. He was from Monaco. He put Bugatti on the podium of a lot of races back in the day. So this car was kind of an ode, or the name of the car is kind of an ode to him. But around back, we have the Atlantic blue. Then you have the fully active aero wing. So the car can be put in Autobahn mode, track mode, high speed mode, and basically what that does, it allows the wing to apply different types of downforce to the vehicle with situational driving. So in Autobahn mode, it'll lower itself. It's more of a sleek line, less drag. Track mode, the wing will actually pivot up a little bit to help with more downforce and cornering. So one of my favorite features to talk about, I think I talked about it on Jason and I's drive, is how much water that the water pump cycles through it every minute. It's over 200 gallons a minute that this thing cycles through to keep the car cooled down. As you can imagine, with 4 turbos, 16 cylinder in the W16 engine, and 8 liter, you got to keep it pretty cool. So I think that was one of the hardest, if I'm not mistaken, one of the hardest bits of engineering to get right is how do we keep this massive engine cool. All the turbos aren't the same size. It has 2 smaller turbos. It helps with the low speeds to keep it spooling at all times. As soon as it hits, I think it's 3,800 RPMs or something like that, there's a smooth transition into the larger turbos, which helps reach that top speed of 261 miles an hour which is electronically governed. The reason why they had to stop it at 261 is because none of the tire manufacturers in the world, Bridgestone, Pirelli, none of them were able to make a tire that could withstand that type of performance and speed, which is just mind-blowing. A lot of firsts in this car that, you know, now in 2021, we're accustomed to these types of numbers. Back when this car was engineered in 2015, 16, and 17, that was non-existent. So this car really was groundbreaking for the time. Another cool feature in the back of the car is this strategically placed carbon fiber FFF license plate frame. As you can see, it perfectly blends with the Bugatti carbon fiber. That's completely random. We didn't do that on purpose. Just looks cool though. So once you get onto the inside, we continued with the French Racing blue theme on the steering wheel, parts of the dash and the passenger side dash. All of these bits and pieces are, you can spec every single one of these. So the spec process took quite a while. The more options they give you, the longer it takes. Another really nice feature on this car is how well everything's made, as you can imagine. I mean, I guess a lot of people can say as it should be for a starting price of $3 million, but it's one thing that really sticks out and it makes you feel like you're kind of getting something for its value. The aluminum and the leather, the way it's wrapped and sewn, there's not a stitch out of place. Everything feels incredibly sturdy. Very, very well made. All the aluminum, the bezels here on the dash are impeccable. Everything just feels sturdy, I guess is the best way to put it. And when you're wanting to go over 200 miles an hour, I mean, it's a very good feeling to know. One thing we noticed when we got in it for the first time are the hinges. You can pretty much stop the door wherever you want and it'll stay stationary. A lot of cars you have like stages, what, 2 or 3 different stages. Just goes to show how sturdy and well made. And it's cool if you, Bryce, I'm gonna want you to get some B-roll of this, but like how well made these hinges are on the door. It's kind of an overlook by some manufacturers, but Bugatti turned over every stone when creating this car, and you can really tell. Another thing that's really cool is, like I said, the C for Louis Chiron that continues on the inside of the car. I don't know if it still is to this day, but this is the longest single strand of light on the interior of a car ever made, which is a pretty cool little factor, or little fact. The passenger side airbag and the driver's side airbag is the first car to ever be enclosed in carbon fiber, which is a pretty cool touch. The compartments on the inside of the car are also pretty cool. So on the driver's side and passenger side, you have the little stowaway compartment here. Then you have the open compartment here. Underneath the instrument cluster here, you have a pad here. And you also have a pad here. All this glass is double pane glass, which can affect cell phone service. But if you have your phone connected to Bluetooth and you set it down here, your service won't be interrupted. I don't know how they did that. Magic. I don't know. Bugatti's crazy. Also in the back, another cool feature is you can actually see behind you really well in this car. Visibility for super and hypercar standards is a 10 out of 10. You can actually look over your shoulder and see what's over there, or you can look in your mirror and see what's behind you, which you do most of the time in the Bugatti. And you can also look out the passenger side and see just fine. So I would say visibility in this car is second to none when it comes to the hypercar world. It's perfection. You can take the key, put it in this little spot. The key does not have to be in that spot to start it. It can be anywhere. It can be in your pocket. Go ahead and put your foot on the brake, push the engine button, and it does this, just that. Once you let all the systems kind of warm up a little bit. Right now we're sitting at 4,346 miles, all new. You know, from us, we took delivery with 0 miles on it, so that's pretty cool. Car gets driven in the winter. It gets driven whenever we feel like driving it, so that's also something that kind of separates us from a lot of hypercar owners. We drive them year round. In Ohio, we have no choice but to drive it in the snow, so that's what we do. This controls all of your AC. It actually controls your radio. If you hold this button down here, you can see some performance numbers, your length, your clock, miles per hour, miles per gallon, some fun stuff. But the minute you turn one of these knobs, it goes back to the AC controls. I don't even know if you knew that, Bryce. Just some fun facts. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in track mode. You can see the wing move up for added downforce. So another cool feature or attention to detail that Bugatti did on the dash is you can see there's no crazy Apple CarPlay or big touchscreen with navigation or anything like that. They wanted to make the car timeless. So what they mean by that is 10, 20 years from now, the Apple CarPlay screens and navigation screens that we currently have in our Audis and BMWs and things, those are all basically gonna look like garbage. They didn't want to incorporate any of that technology that could be considered old in another 10 to 20 years to try to keep this car as timeless as possible. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully you enjoyed the Bugatti Chiron. I know we have the last almost 4,400 miles. And who knows, maybe we'll see another Bugatti coming soon. See you guys.
Break my nose. It like flops and hits it.
I lust for the thrill and danger, live for the game. My heart is beating wild, I can't be tamed. There's trouble, 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 trouble. Trouble finds me. Yeah.
Almost 1,200 pound-foot of torque. How would you describe torque?
Well, I've asked a lot of people about torque, and I don't get a straight answer. So
I describe it as the speed that you can feel.
Speed that you can feel.
Yeah.
I know the torque is what helps you kind of get off the line and put all that horsey to the pavement. The other good thing is it stops well. You want a car that stops well when you go that quick.
When you have 1,500 horsepower. It's effortless though. It's quiet. It's comfortable. I mean, the driving experience in this car, I think the Regera is the closest thing to this Chiron.
As far as like a luxury hyper that could be like a daily driver. And
yeah.
And just the finishes inside, you feel like
very
it's got all
similar.
the creature comforts. You got all the stitching is just beautiful on the seats of both.
Yeah. It's funny, like I can talk to anybody and know and remember, talk about numbers and facts and all this fun stuff. But like when Bryce puts the camera on me to do like a review, it's like I forget everything. Everything goes out the window. So like the last video I made a comment about my personality, which is so flat. But it's like I'm trying to like think about what I'm saying. But if I'm just interacting and talking and whatever, like it's completely different.
Well, I thought it came off good. I liked the way.
Like the more
nice.
serious tone,
yeah.
I guess.
When you're looking at a Regera like that, time to be serious.
It's a serious car, like you said.
I like your parking spot, Jay.
Thank you. You know it's a true everyday driver when you can take it to Costco. That's the test. So here we got the Chiron in the Bugatti only parking spot at Costco. You didn't know they had those, but they do. Bugatti only.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Oh, you're covering it up. That's what it is.
Oh, did I pull over it?
Yeah, you just pulled over it.
Bugatti only.